All right.
You want to, we call the meeting to order and have a roll call, I suppose, is our first process.
So, finalists. Okay. We're good to go with the roll call?
Why don't we start right away? We may as well get it going. Yep, go ahead with the roll call.
Ken Anderson.
Which, Ken Anderson? Here.
Larry.
Here.
Franklin.
Here.
Wayne.
Here.
And Ken Viskers.
Here.
Okay. And then our next step would be the reading of the notice. Staff report.
Please take notice that an application was received from the following persons for a setback requirements. Tony and Lynette Privet in Wilmington Township for a variance to reduce the property line setback for an existing building and the variance to reduce setbacks to an existing feedlot. A hearing on this application will be held at 7 p.m. on Thursday, May 27th. All persons having an interest in the matter will be given the opportunity to submit comments relative to the granting or denying of said application. Comments should be mailed to the Environmental Services Department or emailed and must be received by Tuesday, May 18th of 2021. Comments in regard to the petition received by this date will be part of the public record and will be made available for review prior to review. All right, so these guys, I think have lived here for a number of years, but they just recently parceled it off from Tony's parents. And so when they did so, because of the proximity between the dwelling and some outbuildings that are nearby, they weren't able to achieve the 50-foot property line setbacks. And so now that they are coming in to receive a permit to do an addition on their dwelling, which, and in order to do so, they need to bring their parcel into compliance. The reason, so they could have split it in a way that one property could have been compliant and the other not. It would have been butting the lines right up to building, but they wanted to keep the well and a fuel barrel on the farm side, and so they drew the line down the middle and made the dwelling parcel incompliant or non-compliant then. As far as,
is anybody getting feedback from like water sounds or anything? Is that just me?
Yeah, no, I'm hearing something too.
I'm getting it too.
I hear
It's my aquarium. Should I move?
That's
I'll
your-
move, but I gotta find a plug-in.
The feedlot variance is just a formality. The ordinance says that any expansion of an existing dwelling within a quarter mile of a registered feedlot would require the granting of a variance. So this dwelling has been there for, I think, since 1923, and both have been there for a number of years as well. But because they are extending their dwelling in that direction, they need this variance. And we did have the Feedlot Advisory Committee out, and I believe 4 out of the 7, I had 4 respondents there, and all were in support of granting this variance. Do you want me to go into those? Or do you guys, they were included in your packet?
I guess it's kind of up to, for me, don't need to have anything pretty much, but if anyone wants that read gone through,
I'm good.
but I'm open to it.
I read them. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good with it. How's the noise?
Better.
Better.
Okay,
So
good.
noisy.
You need way quieter fish.
I guess one question I have for you guys before we proceed when I wrote this out, I was planning on pursuing both variances together, but is there any reason that we should go through them separately and look at separate findings, I guess. I didn't think
I
about
don't
that.
see any problem doing them together.
Okay.
I guess at this stage, do the Privets have anything they would like to say?
I have a question about
So much feedback.
What's the question? I didn't hear you.
my question is, with the feedlot zoning, does this apply to just this particular improvement, or would it apply to further future improvements?
To be honest with you, this will be our only improvement on this house. This is
I'm
forever.
talking to Amelia.
If they,
Okay.
if
Sorry.
they were, I guess, to expand beyond, because we are limiting it to the specific proposal that they brought forth this time. So if they come in and they want to do another addition that encroaches more on that feedlot, we would have to, as based on our current ordinance, we would have to do another variance. If they're going to build on like east-west side where they're not technically moving closer, that doesn't require a variance. And then they are family members of the feedlot that's actually behind them, so that one they are exempt.
Which I do have my mom and dad here with me.
Yeah, we're here. We're here with the kids.
We don't plan on making a future addition. What we're doing is,
This will be the last
it'll
thing.
be
I
the
ever do.
last thing we'll do, you know.
And I appreciate that, but you may not own it forever, and so we have to look at this from a period, from the standpoint of future
You're
owners.
saying, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
And so I guess my question is if we're giving him an 1,122 foot easement for a feedlot, does that affect further improvements on that side?
Opposite side of the feedlot.
They,
No, I'm talking about the same side. What do you mean?
Well, Tom's.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're talking about Tom's feedback.
Oh,
if they were to encroach on the feedlot after this proposal and start to build on to the
Holy moly.
Say again.
okay, so
Sorry, we were doing furniture for the laundry.
Laundry.
once they go to or once this one's that, if this one gets approved and they make this addition, if they bring another application forward in a number of years to make an addition further to the north and encroach on that feedlot even more, then they would need another variance.
okay.
Yes,
Okay.
based on my understanding.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I hope they sell the farm to him before then.
We're all gonna live forever, sure.
Franklin, wouldn't that run into a problem? I know the property well. Wouldn't that run into a problem with too close to the road? If they were to build on to the north?
Eventually, yeah. I don't recall right offhand how much distance they have there. This particular proposal meets that township road setback, but at some point they're gonna hit the road, yeah.
Well, we never.
Not this time.
I think we need to deal with what we have in front of us rather than deal with
The future.
the future ideas that might be there that we don't know will ever occur.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that may end up closing too. So there's always,
I guess at this point, to Privets, do you have anything you want to add that isn't in the application?
At this time, no.
No,
We're-
I guess I don't.
Okay. Do any of the board members have any questions for the Privets?
I'm good.
Okay. I guess unless we have some other questions among ourselves that we want to discuss, I think we could just start going into the findings of fact.
Do we have any other public comments?
all I had was that, or I guess you guys weren't on the previous one.
Other than the ones that were in your packet? I mean, is there
You don't have
anybody there in
anyone
the public?
I did get an additional comment from MnDOT just Monday or Tuesday it was. Tracy says that the proposal appears to have no significant impact on MnDOT roadways and is acceptable to MnDOT. But that was the only additional comment.
I think for the record, Amelia, you should maybe read those comments so it gets in the minutes. Maybe it's not important, but I think in the past we've been doing this, haven't we, Ken?
Yes, any comments that were received should be read.
Did we lose it?
That was the only one I had, I believe.
Oh,
So
that's fine.
it came from Tracy Schnell from MnDOT, and she says it was just a lump of comments on all the applications we had. These proposals have no significant impact on MnDOT and our acceptance.
What was your question?
So I guess I do have one comment. I'm not quite sure. It was a few months from ago that I did fill out that permit. In the permit, I can't quite recall if I did state that we are tearing off that north porch. So the porch will be ripped off, and then we will build 19 feet out from the actual house itself and not the porch.
Okay.
I thought you started.
Because the porch itself right now, it actually sits 6'6" out from the house. So that'll be torn off.
And I don't recall it being in here, but actually it'll give you, if you guys are fine just leaving the proposal, it'll give them a little bit of a cushion then.
Okay.
I think what I did was took a distance off the
Porch.
existing building, yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? Anyone else have a question, comment they want to put out? Well, let's start on the findings of fact, the findings then, Amelia.
Okay. So finding, number one, I'll read the findings, and then we'll do roll call afterwards. Please provide a comment if you have any. So number one, the variance request is in harmony with the intent and purpose of official controls. Analysis says that as part of the residential development policies included in the comprehensive plan, the county is to encourage the rehab of existing older homes. Ken Anderson.
I agree with staff analysis.
Larry.
Larry is muted.
I agree with staff. I was muted.
Franklin.
Yes, I agree.
Wayne.
I agree with staff analysis.
And Ken Visker.
Agreed.
Number two, there are practical difficulties in complying with the official controls, and the proposed use of the property is reasonable. Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. Analysis says that the proximity of buildings did not allow the dwelling from the farmstead in such a way as to keep compliant parcels. The well is only 55 feet from the dwelling, so in order to maintain that on the farm parcel, 2 non-compliant parcels were created. In respect to the feedlot variance, this is almost a 100-year-old dwelling with 2 bordering feedlots presumed to be of similar age. The applicants also operate a feedlot and understand the nuisances that result. Larry.
I agree with staff.
Franklin.
Yes, I agree.
Wayne.
Yes, I agree.
Ken.
Yes, I agree.
Ken Visker and Anderson.
I agree with staff analysis.
3, the variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property and not created by the property owner. Analysis is that splitting up farmsteads becomes difficult because of the proximity of buildings and farm components. In this situation, it was their wish that the well and fuel barrel remained on the farm parcel, and the well is 35 feet from the dwelling. In respect to the feedlot, both existed since before zoning and feedlot rules were in place. Franklin.
I agree.
Wayne.
I agree.
Ken.
Which one?
Ken Visker.
I agree.
And Ken Anderson.
I agree with staff analysis.
Larry Hafner.
I agree.
Number 4, The variance cannot be alleviated by a reasonable method other than a variance, and the minimum variance which would alleviate the practical difficulty is sought. Since the buildings or wall cannot be moved, a variance is the most practical method to alleviate the noncompliance. Wayne,
I agree with staff analysis.
Ken Visker,
I agree.
Ken Anderson,
I agree.
Larry,
I agree.
Franklin,
Yes, I agree.
and number 5, the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality, nor substantially impair property value or the public health, safety, or welfare in the vicinity. Analysis is that the variance will not create a situation out of character for this particular site or zoning district. As they complete the addition, the improvement will help to increase property values and have no threat to public health, safety, or welfare. As part of this project, to replace was most likely an outdated septic system that could be impacting public health. Ken Visker,
I agree.
Ken Anderson,
I agree with staff analysis.
Larry Heffner,
I agree with staff.
Franklin,
I agree.
and Wayne.
I agree with staff analysis, and I sure have a lot of noise in my computer.
I do too.
I do too.
It's not my aquarium.
No, it's not your fish. It sounds like background noise from another call.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
good.
for a second it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
All right.
better.
We have one more. Number 6, the request is not a use variance and shall not have the effect of allowing any use that is not allowed in the zoning district, permit a lower degree of flood protection than the regulatory flood protection elevation, or permit standards lower than those required by state law. Analysis is that the request is an area variance and the location is not in the immediate vicinity of floodplain, nor does it permit standards lower than those required by state law. Ken Anderson,
I agree.
Larry,
I agree.
Franklin,
I agree, and I also can hear now.
Yeah.
That is much,
Yeah.
much better. Thank you.
Wayne,
Yes, I agree with staff analysis.
and Ken Visker.
I agree.
All right, that concludes your findings.
I
Do
move
we
we
need a
accept the
motion to
findings.
accept those, or
So
is that
moved.
good enough?
I
I'll
move we
make a
accept the
motion that we accept the findings as presented. This is
Second.
Larry.
Ken seconded.
Larry made the motion, Kenny Visker seconded.
Ken Anderson,
Aye.
Larry,
Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Wayne,
Aye.
Ken Visker.
Aye.
Okay. I think the next thing is to just motion to grant a variance. There's a proposed motion in the packet.
Yes.
Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Somebody read it?
Grant a variance of 1,122 feet to add an addition on an existing dwelling within 1,320 feet of a registered feedlot, and a variance of 15 feet to meet the required 50-foot property line setback from the south property lines for an existing dwelling.
Kenny Visker, you made that motion?
I did.
Is there a
I'll
second to
second
that?
this. Larry.
Larry seconded it. We'll have a roll call vote?
Ken Anderson,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Franklin,
Aye.
Wayne,
Yes.
and Ken Visker.
Aye.
Okay,
I'm sorry, yes.
All in favor then, and so motion carries.
thank you, Privets, for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
to every one of you.
Thank you very much.
Amelia, when was this split done?
Sorry?
The only,
Can I ask Amelia a question, Ken?
sure,
When was the split done?
For this site,
Yeah.
2019, I believe.
You know, and here we go again. for those board members who weren't around when we pushed this again and again, we keep getting these splits, and then we got to go back after the fact and do these variance hearings, and somehow the county board hasn't been able to figure out a way to enforce these zoning rules prior to the splits. And it just makes me disgusted to think that we got to go through this motion over and over and over again. And
I think
nothing,
if this, Kenny, if this had come to the board for anybody just on the split, we probably would have been granting that variance also.
sure,
Because
I
that's the only
don't, I
way
don't
you could have.
disagree, but I think there's some that could have been split differently. We've had those in the past.
Well, I'll agree with you on that. There's occasionally some that are that way, but
I do think we need to look at, because we're only going to end up with more of these farmsteads that keep getting split as farmers acquire more land, but they don't need the dwelling site necessarily. So I do think that's something we need to look at.
It just seems like a waste of time and energy that could be taken care of in the office somehow, but apparently not, because we've been harping on this for a long time and nothing seems to get done.
well, our purpose is to really make amends for when the zoning ordinances don't fit the situation, individual situations. And we're more or less trying to serve the people, and the county is secondary to us at that time.
Well, the
I
county,
mean, we're elected to serve the people, and it shouldn't be the other way.
I will say, Ken, it's always been on a list, but we've been short-staffed, and it just we haven't had the time to approach or
I got it.
an
You
approach.
know, I wanted to bring it up again. We have some members that haven't been around, and I just wanted to remind people that this seems like a futile effort to continue to do this over and over again. This is primarily all we do is adjust for split property line variances. And
Well, and I think to some extent, that's the only practical way to do it. You know,
Okay.
it isn't like they're trying to get away with something.
no, I know that. I'm not saying that anybody is. It just seems like these are the situations that could be resolved with the zoning office prior to the split in many cases. And
Oh, I see what you're saying, that not to have, probably shouldn't have to have this group do that. Is that what you're saying?
it should have, from my perspective, I think these kinds of issues could be resolved in the office before the split is approved, as opposed to approving the split and then having to come back for variance hearings like this. It costs the landowner money. It costs the county money. It costs us time and effort. It just seems like sort of a backwards way to approach this whole thing.
But
So,
we would have still had the problem for that building permit for them to have, they would have had to come for a variance anyway, irregardless of this property split,
In this,
because they're closest to the opposite feedlot.
okay, I've had my say. I'm fine. I'm not going to debate this with you. I'm just saying that this seems like a backward way to approach this whole thing.
I
We've talked about it.
understand what you're saying, and I agree with you.
Well, there's one thing here. If the zoning board went to the commissioners with a recommendation, and I'm just throwing this out, reduce the variance, then when somebody came in, the way I would interpret it, somebody came in and applied for a split, they would have to go to the zoning the way I understand, if I understand Ken Vister right, before they could get the split to alleviate the problem of getting a variance. Am I wrong? You would still have to have a variance from the feedlot, which we know. Maybe I'm interpreting this wrong.
In this particular case, you're probably right, but we've got other situations where properties are split, where they could have been split in such a way to comply,
Right.
but they weren't, and then we end up having to deal with it in this place. So let's move on. We've
Okay,
beaten this one to death, and it doesn't seem to make any.
the only thing, we had last month, we had one for La Crescent that was tabled, and since then that application has been withdrawn. So you're aware of that. They wanted, and I think the only thing we have left to do after that then would be approval of the minutes from last meeting. Unless someone else has something else, but I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I have a correction, but I'll deal with it after someone makes the motion. Unless you want to take it first.
Well, shouldn't we a correction to the minutes?
Yes.
Shouldn't that be done prior to a motion then?
Well, we can do it during the discussion of the motion, but either way, I'll do it prior. On the last page, you wrote, Ken Visger believes believes they are stalling the process. Isn't clear who I thought was stalling the process. And I didn't want to disrupt that conversation and make myself more clear. But what I was attempting to point out is that those members, we get adequate information from the zoning office in order to make a decision on these applicants. And those members who choose not to go visit the property, they should be able to determine from that information that's provided whether a site visit is necessary. And what I'm saying is that to come to a meeting and then say, well, wait a minute, I've got to go look at the site to make a decision, that isn't appropriate. We're paid to do this, we volunteered to do this, and I think it's our duty to make sure that when we come to a meeting, we're prepared to make decisions and not postpone a meeting. And the county has to spend more time and money. The applicants have to come back to a second meeting if that's the case. I think it's our duty to be prepared to come to these meetings, and to suggest that it's okay for us to postpone a meeting so that we go look at the site when we should have looked at it in the first place is wrong. I would go so far as to say that those board members who vote to postpone to go visit a site not be paid for that meeting, because we're just not doing our duty. So I just want to make clear what I meant there, because I didn't want to disrupt the conversation at the time and talk about this anymore. So I want the minutes to reflect that.
And
I want to talk now. Who's
Go ahead.
first?
Go ahead, Wayne.
Okay, Ken. I found out a lot of information about that place that I didn't like. And I didn't want to go there last month before I researched everything. And it came to a big head, and it was bigger than I thought. I'm not going to go there, but I am seriously determined to shut that down. And you was right to say we were delaying it. We had to delay it because we had to investigate it. That's it.
Okay. Anyone else? Frank?
Well, as long as you brought it up, in that situation, and too many skeletons in the closet for me. But I want to add, I did go and I viewed the site that we were discussing tonight, and we approved. So I didn't get called out again tonight. And I don't like being called out for not doing my job, because I think I do a fair job. I use common sense. I don't go along with, just because one board member says something, I'm going along 100% with it. I got a mind of my own. I can think for myself, and I'll shut up.
Did we have a motion on the minutes now? I understand Kenny's concerns.
I just want the minutes to reflect my thoughts, not just to say that
Well, yeah.
talking about me wanting, talking about me or someone postponing, it doesn't even identify who or what. So I wasn't comfortable with that. And as long as the minutes reflect my thoughts, I'm okay. And I think I've made myself clear.
And as long as the minutes reflect my thoughts, I'm clear with it too.
Well, these
I
are the
don't know
minutes
about
from last,
Wayne.
these are the minutes from the last meeting.
That's what we're talking about, is the minutes from last meeting. We haven't approved them yet, mister.
Oh. Okay.
Amelia, do you have them corrections? Do you feel?
I believe so.
Okay, I'll make a
Holly's
motion that we accept the minutes.
taking all the notes, so.
Yeah. Larry, you motioned?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes with the corrections that have been requested.
Okay, is there a second to that way?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and second. We need a roll call vote.
Ken Anderson,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes,
Franklin,
Aye.
Wayne,
Yes,
Ken Visker.
Aye.
Excuse me.
Okay, minutes are passed. I don't know that we have anything else on the agenda anymore because the other one was withdrawn.
Yeah, so for those of you that have just joined us, because I've added a few, the application for the La Crescent subdivision hearing was withdrawn, and so now that meeting is postponed. At this time, all the applicants will have to come in individually and pursue their own variances.
all right.
When you say postponed. it
Or
was
sorry, not
withdrawn.
postponed. The hearing
It
is canceled.
Yeah,
it was canceled
withdrawn.
as the original applicant was Houston County. Houston County withdrew its application.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
So if any individual wants to make an application, then they make it as an individual.
Then they would also have to pay the fee
Then-
instead of having it
yeah.
free, correct?
Yes, they would have, just like anyone else making a making an application for a variance on a building site would have to be just like an individual.
What led to that change? I know that we were going to discuss it last week, but it got delayed. What made a difference?
The decision was made Friday, just based upon the commissioners. From what I understand, had heard a number of things from a number of people, and then just with the concerns that we heard last time, we felt it was the best decision to open it up so that everybody could have. That all these individuals should come in on their own and with specific requests to their sites, so that we can evaluate them on that specifically and not just throw a blanket variance at them. And really a number of them, if the variances that we had proposed didn't cover it anyway, they may have been looking at doing it a separate hearing on their own in conjunction or after they already had received one.
So this was a decision by the zoning office.
Houston County is the applicant, or since Houston County was the applicant, it was made by myself with the assistance of the county attorney.
All right, that's it?
I think we're done then. Well, I suppose we better have a motion to adjourn.
Hey, can I ask a random question while I got some people who know the answers to things? I live up on Crescent Hills Drive, and there used to be at the end of my street a little nature path that connected us to Apple Blossom, that new subdivision being built up there. And there was some talk at some point about there being a road that connected the two subdivisions. With so many more people moving up in the area, is there some point where there's too many people to just have one exit and one entrance, that there has to be some other connection between the two? And is there any thought about connecting those two subdivisions? Is that anything that anyone here knows about?
is that a township issue?
I was gonna suggest that. I don't know of anything, but I would think the township would be the one that would maybe initiate that. Maybe Larry has.
There is a so there is a
Easement?
path through there to that other subdivision. So the last I heard that there was a problem where it was gonna end up on that other subdivision. I think they really didn't want that to go through there because they didn't want the traffic. But there's a number of people that would like to have it. School buses now have to go down that hill and crawl back up there, and any deliveries, if they and service both of them, and you know, emergencies. But the last I heard was that there was an issue with where that was gonna connect to that subdivision on the other side. I don't know where that's at. I haven't, that's
That
been a few
prior-
years since I've,
That little nature path, is that something that people can walk on? I saw that there's a sign up there that says private property do not enter anymore at the end of the driveway. Is that private property or is that public property, that little nature?
I don't know. There was an easement, or I'm not sure if it was an easement through the property or if there was actually it was owned by the subdivision. I don't know, but there is a pathway through there.
Yeah.
But I don't know anymore what the status of it is.
So who's the source of information? You say it's the township, that's who I should ask questions to?
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Larry. You would be able to answer it in regards to this conversation we're having. When I was over there and viewed that, I know where he's talking about. I saw that sign. I also saw that lot that was clear cut, which we're not talking about. But is all of that land up there on top? There's a line when you go up Old Hickory Road, city limit sign, and then it's township. Is all of that up on top? Most of that, I should say, is that owned by the township, Larry?
That sign's
It's not
weird.
owned by the township. It's,
I mean, no, I mean, I rephrase that. Is
Yes.
that in the township? I said it wrong. Is it in
there's
the
one
township?
house, there's one house up there in the end that is city.
Okay.
He got, well, whatever. He gets no services from the city, but he touches the city. He doesn't get sewer, he doesn't get septic, he doesn't get any road plowed. But he's city. Everything else up there
Okay.
is township.
Okay. Well,
Now, I've been out of it for a few years. So I don't know that they've changed, but I don't think they have. But don't go telling somebody that, hey, Larry said it was township.
well, no, I was just asking Larry for my own sake for what I was looking at when I was over there.
Yeah, it's it'd be tough to put sewer in it. But anyhow, there was a path through there legally.
None of these people around here.
That was so I'm probably getting myself in trouble here, but yeah, talk to the township and see what the status. There was going to be a pathway through there, but at one time there was where it was going. There was a plan to where it was going, but that lot got sold, so I don't know what the status is. And it's maybe legal to go through there, but when you get to the other side, it's not. Don't know.
Okay.
Good job, Amelia.
Yes,
Thanks.
thank you.
I guess for
When
the,
do,
I think I talked to all the board members maybe, but Aaron is no longer with the county too. I guess just as a heads up.
Yeah. All right.
So how many people you got helping you now, Amelia?
Just Holly and I.
oh my,
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, you are short.
Where's Holly?
Thanks, Amelia.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Good job too, Holly. Thanks a lot.
Is
Appreciate
there
it.
a motion to adjourn the meeting, I guess?
I'll make a motion. We adjourn the meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Wayne.
Can we have unanimous consent?
Yes, doing unanimous. Well, being no further agenda, the meeting is adjourned. Let's do it that way.
All right.
That is also a legal way to do it.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll have to be in, how soon do you need me in to sign the paperwork?
Next week.
Next week sometime is fine. Okay, I'll plan to be in there some morning.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm out of here.
All right.
Good night.